because...
Spitting my words at the microphone because I'm in the house of Slytherin.
I'm extremely excited and I'm making a point very loudly for some reason.
I'm going to talk over Rob.
Okay, I think it's... Nothing's peaking. Nothing's peaking at all.
No, that's good, okay.
So...
Shall I play it back?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Once Upon a Time in Some Guy's Parents' House. This is Mike, your host, and with me are my usual co-presenters, Rob and Jules. Good afternoon, guys. How's it going?
Aloha.
Hello, and films to you.
We got it in the right order this time.
Too.
We got it in the right order this
I was
time.
waiting for you to say, 'cause
Yeah,
usually,
the mystery is over.
usually your name is said first, but then I always say hello first, and it creates a very weird sort of universe for listeners.
I'm glad we settled that. We cleared it all up, Rob.
Yep.
Good point, Jules.
Of course, that was the old bait and switch.
And today, after the fireworks of Avengers Infinity War, we are going to take it down a notch and talk about Bill Pull Holderman's
Poor Bill Holderman.
book club, which, if you don't know, is a sort of comedy about four aging women played by Jane Fonda, Mary Steenburgen, Diane Keaton and Candice Bergen, who have a book club together. They read the novel 50 Shades of Grey as part of this book club, and their romantic lives spur back into action after, in some cases, many years of absence. Rob, I'm going to ask you first, something you liked and something you didn't like about the film Book Club, please.
Ooh. Okay, something I liked, probably watching Jules sink into his seat in mortal anguish. And also, I quite liked, I'm wondering if Jules has any positives for this film, but I quite liked some of the really terrible euphemisms when they got out of control. Basically, there's a scene where, for example, a man is talking about his old motorcycle and lubing up the saddle, and also used the phrase crankshaft as well. Elicited some approval from me, but yeah, I mean, it's really bottom of the barrel stuff, and I'm kind of not really enjoying the film on the level they probably Mr. Holderman wanted me to. The
Mr.
bad,
Holderman.
I generally
Is he your like
Sir Holderman to you.
Is he your your high school principal or something?
Sounds like Mr. Holderman.
He's teaching innuendo 101.
Or possibly he's just like a jock, Holderman.
This is all much better than the film.
Yes. The bad, I suppose, I feel like it was generally a missed opportunity with some of those actresses and actors, especially Richard Dreyfuss, I think he was in the trailer, or at least I knew he was going to be in it, and he was in very briefly. And I think there was some specific laziness in the animation department at the beginning, but we can talk about that later.
The animation department?
I'm not sure what they had this kind of... at the beginning, I quite liked where it was going. The narration. Diane Keaton was doing a narration to set up the story, and there was kind of an Arrested Development style. Yeah, and they had some bad Photoshop of the four of them. Was it four of them?
Yes.
Sort of photoshopped together from their younger days.
Yes.
But that wasn't so bad. But it carried on into the kind of fake Bumble pictures of that judge's her ex-husband on holiday, which just seems so fake. It just seemed like a kind of TV show or a web short. It didn't seem like a kind of major theatrical film piece of work. Like, couldn't they just shoot those bits on location or do them better? And
beaches aren't cheap, Rob.
Also the flying sequences, the green screen flying.
You cracked
sequences.
out laughing.
But you didn't notice that when they had the personal.
Yes, when they're flying through the canyons in Arizona. Diane Keaton and Ray Liotta.
That's the one.
In his plane, right, yes.
Whenever anyone says Ray Liotta...
Not Ray Liotta.
It isn't, yeah, it's Andy Garcia.
Andy Garcia.
But when anyone says Ray Liotta, I just think of an otter. I can't get it out of my head.
I just think of a man eating his own brain whenever I think of Ray Liotta. Because of the film Hannibal, do you remember the scene?
Oh yeah, that was Ray Liotta, wasn't it?
That's all I can think of.
I think of a budget Andy Garcia, and Andy Garcia is a budget Al Pacino, so it's like the grand budgets.
But that's a very specific bad. I think generally, well, we'll get into that.
Jules, though, same question to Jules. And good point first, please, Jules.
Good point first.
Make a good point. Make a really good point.
I loved the cat until it was used, funnily enough, for the word pussy for some innuendo when Candice Bergman takes her cat to the vet. And even though she's talking to a vet about her cat for 5 seconds, she suddenly thinks this man in a position of authority is talking about her vagina because, That's what this film is.
I did like the term lethargic pussy. That did get a chuckle from me. Well, that's what the vet diagnoses the cat as
I
having.
think I've heard their work on Six Music, actually.
And you know, his declaration. I think what we have here is a case of a lethargic pussy. I did think that made me chuckle. I admit whether that lowers me in your estimate, Jules.
It involves the cat, so I suppose there's 50-50 on that. I guess that my biggest problem with this thing, I mean, and I say this as someone who, I mean, I'll preface this by saying I'm someone who loves romantic comedies. I think I really enjoy them as a genre when they're executed well. I mean,
Can you give me an example of a couple of romantic comedies that you really like?
I love Notting Hill.
Oh yeah.
I think that's an amazing film, and I know that's really divisive among people, but it always touches me. And see, now I feel like we're in some weird innuendo scene where everything I say is going to be. So I feel coming out of this film, every single thing sounds like an innuendo.
You're in a safe space. It's all right.
But I enjoy this. It's a genre of movies I enjoy very much. I mean, this is, and especially in
You're a sap.
and stuff, and I'm saying especially in television as well. Actually, because one thing this did bother me a lot was it felt like a really shit version of Sex and the City. And I love Sex and the City, not the films.
Right.
Films are terrible, but the series I absolutely loved it.
Okay.
It got to me.
That's
felt,
a pretty good qualifier. Yeah, no, okay. So as a Sex and the City fan,
Yeah, which is very weird for a 32-year-old man to say, and I was probably in my teenage years when it was on television. But I love that, and this felt like someone had watched Sex and the City, aged them about 40 years,
yeah,
and then their only understanding of how people and women work is Sex and the City plus 40 years, but they're not. It didn't feel like real people to me.
It's odd because I couldn't quite divorce some of the actresses from the parts. Like I just kept thinking that they were playing parts because they didn't really inhabit them because they were so simplistic.
Really
Like
were.
Diane Keaton randomly has a kind of a meltdown at one point. Seems to come out of nowhere.
Well, this is the other thing I was going to say is coming from a romantic comedy lover is it's a genre that's incredibly derivative. It's something where you see one, you do see them all. And it's because the audience expect certain things coming off it. You expect your happy endings. You expect your love conquers all themes. These sorts of generalities, and it's fine. It's one of the few genres where you don't have to be very original to please an audience. And this is like this is so derivative of romantic comedies, but it's not executed in a way that's kind of works. It's like it's seen romantic comedies and thinks this is where the beat is, where where everything falls apart. And then you get this moment where in the film, where in the low moment, like at the end of Act 2, where all four characters' plot lines all start hitting their lowest moment, and you have a sequence that's about 10 minutes long, and every character is basically beginning a sentence with "I realise that." And you think, oh,
Yeah, they all
okay.
become experts.
They all become
Yeah,
experts.
They all become experts on the nature
are
of love.
at the same
right?
moment, and it's just
Which is a bit.
it's just like, well, it's like it's been surgically implanted because this is what the movie needs to do at this point. Even though that Diane Keaton bit,
Yeah.
Diane Keaton's character at that point, her whole thing that she goes through is that her kids are they treat her like she's a child. Effectively, they treat her like she's like in
Because
a
she's a
glass
widower,
house. Because
I
she's
think.
sorry.
Because she's a widower, I think.
Because she's a widow, because her husband died, I think, a year previously in the backstory.
Yes.
The kids, who are about 40, I think the reference they
that's
make.
what they say, isn't it?
Yeah, they are thinking, oh, mum, you need to come live with us in Arizona.
In our
You
basement.
can't- in the basement. You can't live on your own. You can't take it. And obviously, she's
Can't go up an escalator.
Can't go up an
you have to
escalator.
sit down at the little area reserved for these old people while we go up the escalator in the shopping mall.
God,
because
the
you could
moment-
fall at any moment.
that moment. That was the moment she sat down in a
Vibrating
chair, and my mind was just at that point.
You
thinking,
sunk
oh,
lower
God,
in your seat at that
Please
point.
don't go. Please don't go. And you know what? They didn't. In fact, if this movie had actually been dirtier, if it had actually gone the full hog, it might have been more entertaining because it would have felt more original, I think.
Although I think you were somewhat in the middle of a point, I am going to
Yeah,
pick you
sorry.
up there.
Please do.
I thought one of the things that this movie did not do really was live up to the trailer's sense that, you know, is it actually that important in this film that they read 50
Right,
Shades of Grey?
exactly.
It's not.
No
I
points.
was expecting a much raunchier film. I was expecting at least one of them. I thought it was going to be Mary Steenburgen's character who's trying to sexually reawaken her husband, Craig T. Nelson. But I thought she was going to go down the sort of the raunchy, spanking sort of whips and ties and things. I thought we were definitely going to get a scene where, you know, he walks into the bedroom and Mary Steenburgen's tied to her bed or something. And it just didn't, though. The film
And you
was
were disappointed?
Really, well, I just think It's not
No,
what
I
it.
agree.
No, it's not what it said it was going to be, right? They
Yeah.
might have as
It's a
well.
trading
read
standards
any
infringement.
book about romance.
Also, I
Yeah,
thought they were going to
really
have a
didn't
parallel
No,
with
I
the
agree
book.
with
Maybe as they read along each chapter, they're like, "Oh, they did this. Let's try
Wow,
this."
that was that
and
bit where
that
I
sort
was-
of thing. But
The last moment when it finally, where I realised this film is not going to try and impress me at all, was where it was God, why don't you want to see Ray Liotta? Andy Garcia.
Ray Liotta.
That's
is
it,
fine.
Ray
just a
Liotta.
giant otter
Andy-
flying a plane.
Well, Andy Garcia is like, he's got one secret left, and he's quite creepy. There's something going on in his
yeah,
look.
He's too smooth.
He's
isn't
got
he?
glassy eyes.
Yeah.
He's, you know, he's a shark about to strike. There's something going on in his character as he romances Diane and I'm thinking, this guy's maybe this is going to be a Christian Grey parallel. And he's
Right.
about to show her a room that's all dark. I'm thinking, oh
The red
god, he's got a
room,
red room.
yeah.
He's got a red room. This could actually be quite funny. She's neurotic and nervous and kind of Woody Allen like. I wonder why that is. And he's kind of smooth and secretive. Oh, it's a plane. Oh, he's going to take her for
Right.
flying. Oh, it's a regular PG-related romantic
It was so
comedy.
PG. It was so PG safe.
Yeah.
I thought that was a bit disappointing because I thought it was going to be a bit dirtier, this film. I also thought that it was very unambitious generally in its writing. I thought immediately
Easy jokes.
the expository introduction to all of these characters, where instead of say setting up that Mary Steenburgen is a chef by having like the first scene with her take place in her kitchen, they're just, you know, let's spend 20 seconds just saying this is Mary Steenburgen's character. She's a really successful chef. I'm just gonna skip any kind of hard work and just lay the foundations for this film, and then essentially we have 4 stories running in parallels in a film which is about 100 minutes in length. So really, they just need to write all of the 3 main scenes from the romances of each of these plots, and then just string them together, and they've got a film, right? Right, yeah, it's me, right?
Okay, again.
Bloody hell. All right, so we're back. Some of you won't notice that we were gone, but actually we just recorded 15 minutes of footage of us talking about book club, and I hadn't hit the record button hard enough. And then
what happened, Mike?
I just kicked us off again, but I hadn't hit the record button hard enough. So here we are for the 3rd time. Rob, I believe I can feel it inside that you have a point to make about the way Bill Holderman approached this project to begin with.
I can see a wavelength, so we're definitely recording.
I think maybe sound is being recorded.
So, basically, this is like Groundhog Day. But yes, I was looking into how the premise of this film was came about, basically.
How interesting.
And essentially, Bill Holderman, first-time director,
Doesn't show at all.
shots fired.
Jools firing shots at another director. My goodness, it's going to be Bill Holderman and Rory Thag teaming
It's
up.
pronounced raw footage.
Okay, Bill came up with an idea, the idea, when he gave a copy of 50 Shades of Grey to his mother on Mother's Day.
Who wouldn't do that?
Okay, so, I mean, that's rather a tone-deaf thing to do, possibly, depending on your relationship with your mother. But and I thought, well, that's at least original. But then I found out later that this is just this is just something that he copied off Robert Redford. And so, it's
Robert
sort of
Redford gave his mother...
a copy of 50
Was
Shades
it a
of Grey.
prank? Was it
Robert
real?
Redford gave Bill Holderman's
Mother,
Yeah.
a copy of 50 Shades of
And he
Grey.
said another one.
And he was like,
It was
"What a great
unnecessary
idea."
at that point. But it does speak to the fact that you just said, just mere moments ago, that the film almost seemed like a person, an alien, had seen Sex and the City, and then
Like Tommy
trying to
Wiseau.
recreate it.
Tommy
Well,
Wiseau
this is the
sees
same
Sex
sort
and
of
the
thing. He's seen Robert Redford give his mum 50 Shades of Grey, and he's thought, oh, I must do that now. But there may be some reason why Robert Redford has done that with his mother. But so it speaks of this kind of lack of originality, maybe.
Someone who doesn't understand how emotions work, but he sees other people explicit emotions and thinks explicit.
Exactly.
Illicit emotions.
The script of this film did feel like, and I think it speaks to a point you made a little bit earlier, which is it's like they fed the formula of a rom-com into an AI, and this is just the first result they got out, and they barely changed anything about it. And
Microsoft Script Wizard.
Yeah, exactly. They just
Yeah.
stuck some actresses in it, and bish bash bosh, you've got a movie.
It speaks to something you were saying earlier, Mike, about the 4 actresses having their own separated plot lines, and then they never really sort of converge, except like maybe, I don't know, about 4 scenes where we're meant to believe they're friends.
Yes.
But that's structured very much like a sitcom.
Oh,
It's- It's 4 different plot lines that don't converge.
And they don't
Shut
seem
up.
like friends, and
They don't at
also
all.
the partners don't even seem like they know each other, which
Oh,
can be seen
God.
very clearly in the Viagra roofie scene.
Ah, yes, the Viagra roofie scene. Let's talk about the Viagra roofie scene.
Let's.
Okay, this speaks to so many problems about this film. Where it's something that is kind of interesting. Is Craig T. Nelson? He's
Craig
the
T.
one who plays
Nelson,
Mary Steenburgen's
Mr.
husband, isn't it?
Incredible, and the dad from Poltergeist.
And Coach. From
What a winning
Coach.
combination.
Winning combination.
He comes across to me as one of the only empathisable characters in the entire thing, because he's going through this struggle where he's retired, and therefore he's going through an existential crisis of where is his life going, and he's so all over the place that he finds it very hard to be sexually aroused at times, which is understandable. His mind's elsewhere. Yet his wife's way of getting around this is to drug him with Viagra in his beer.
Well, in public as well.
In public, in a bar. So the idea being that, well, I mean, that's not how Viagra works. Anyway, it doesn't magically make you incredibly aroused and you must have your wife. Then it's like, no, the blood's flowed to a specific area. That's cured my physical problem. But they've got an emotional problem. So already, it's in the ground of this isn't how the world works. Then she then gets really angry with him because he's angry that she drugged him for a problem that I can understand. And it just, it feels like she wasn't written by a woman. And the main characters are women.
Yes.
I don't understand that thought process.
I feel like the whole film was set up on the idea that people are going to enjoy the idea that Jane Fonda and Diane Keaton and Candice Bergen and Mary Steenburgen are friends, and that they would meet up and have lots of wine together, and they'd sit around the sofa and they'd talk about their lives. And that was really that feels to me that was the initiating point of this whole movie, are the scenes where they're all sitting together talking about their love lives. But actually most of the film is obviously these 4 separate plots, and then every now and then we get a scene where they're together. And I did think that there are so many 30-second scenes in this film. There are so many scenes that are just, this is the joke we need to tell, so let's just film this joke, and then it just ends. There's no setup, there's no end.
Sitcom.
And the longest, exactly.
Yes.
And the longest scenes in this film are the ones where they're all together and they're talking and they're having the wine. And I feel like they just
half a
this
glass of
film
wine.
this film was just basically those scenes, and then let's hang some 30-second jokes around them.
You're right, and they definitely didn't abide by the kind of show don't tell rule as well. In those scenes, those are the scenes where we hear that Jane Fonda's character has many suitors, but we could have just as easily have seen them being, a revolving door of Jane Fonda's bedroom, with different men coming out, being thrown out of the hotel.
Yes.
Because one of the key elements is that she never lets a man sort of sleep over. They have sex, but she never sleeps over.
As she tells us.
Well, we could have seen that. A little montage,
I mean, a bunch of 60, 70-year-old women in a raunchy sex comedy. I mean, I can't say exactly it's a film I would want to go and see, but at least it's somewhat of an original concept, and this isn't the sort of film that gets made nowadays at all. You don't make mid-budget films. You certainly don't make romantic comedies and release them into cinemas. They tend to be more something that gets released on Netflix or Amazon with their distribution rights, because.
And not films that rest on the idea that, here's 4 big actresses that you know
Star
who these
vehicles
people
are
are, star vehicles.
There's a book I was reading recently called The Big Picture. I can't remember what the author's name is, and I feel really bad about that. But it's about how...
I mean, you had the time to look it up. Yeah.
I know. I should have looked it up.
This is
Finishing
pure
Wishes.
laziness from Jools.
I read the book. One of the things that this addresses how Hollywood has changed over the last sort of 20, 30 years, where it's moved from star-driven vehicles and mid-range films to 10, 15 years ago, franchises started hitting it big. No one could make money anymore with anything else. And these sorts of films, like Book Club, represent a time from the mid-90s, for the most part, where you've got these 4 actresses who've all got very big name cred, or at least, they certainly did back when they were making more movies, and just putting their names on a poster would make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But that isn't true nowadays. So the fact that this movie even exists, even gets financing and distribution in a cinema, is a massive missed opportunity.
So I'm going to take that opportunity to wrap up. Rob, would you recommend Book Club to our listeners?
No.
Thank you very much. Jools, how about you?
Depends how much you hate yourself, I guess. Would you recommend it?
I am fairly ambivalent about this one. It wasn't for me. I felt like if you think you are going to enjoy Book Club, I think you probably will enjoy Book Club. And if you don't think you will enjoy Book Club, you probably will not enjoy Book Club. So it's thumbs firmly in a neutral position, palms down, resting on the table.
But the thumbs are only in a neutral position because they can't be moved due to arthritis.
Yes, because of the onset of arthritis. Let's call it a day there after recording most of that for a second time. Thank you very much for listening. This has been the third episode of Once Upon a Time in Some Guy's Parents' House. Some guy will be back in this very house to talk with his friends about another movie very soon. Thanks very much.
Bye!
Toodaloos.